Hello all and welcome to another Gavin Entertainment video. It's Art here with Bond Days 004 with the deep dive of Goldfinger. One of my quintessential Bond films. It is what started James Bond as a phenomenon. Matter of fact, on the Blu-ray and DVDs I have of it, there is a documentary called The Goldfinger Phenomenon, which I've watched several times. It is the one that made people line up around the block to watch it. It is the one that was a template for all other Bond films to come. It is harkened back to even in the Daniel Craig era. It was harkened back to in subtle ways. It is directed, and it's the Bond directorial debut of Guy Hamilton. He would go on to direct many more, like Diamonds Are Forever, Live and Let Die, The Man with the Golden Gun, and so on and so forth. But it is his directorial debut, and he wanted to take it as more of a campy 60s spy thriller, because let's face it, the ending of the breaking in of Fort Knox and the visual depiction of Fort Knox is outlandish but awesome at the same time. It is studied in film classes. I know I studied it in my film class in college. Let me back up a little bit actually. I studied it in my film class in college because of the Jill Masterson golden lady that's on all the posters that you would see. It's also Shirley Bassey's first time at the wheel for the Goldfinger theme. It is not a Maurice Bender title sequence. It is a David Houghton, I want to say, title sequence, because Maurice Bender was busy at the time. But do not worry, Maurice Bender would come back in Thunderball and make Thunderball amazing. And he would stay with the Bond franchise until he retired after License to Kill. This is the first Bond film to have a wholly separate action sequence in the pre-credit title sequence, because the one from Russia with Love kind of built into the story. This one is wholly separate, kind of a mini adventure before we see the title sequence that is Goldfinger. We do have Honor Blackman in this film as Pussy Galore of Avengers fame. Yeah, I think she was the Avengers 60s TV series fame, if memory serves. It's amazing. It's great. I love Oddjob and Harold Soroka. It just has everything. It has a quintessential henchman. Goldfinger, played by Gert Frobe, is a wonderful character. Now he's voiced over by somebody else whose name was escaping me. John Barry once again does the score, and he is amazing at it, of course. It does stick pretty decently close to, at least in the beginning of the novel by the same name. It does go a little bit far-fetched when breaking into Fort Knox, of course, but that's where you get to see kind of the outlandish camping nature of Bond. But you do get to see the menacing henchman that is Oddjob, and the archetype for all henchmen to come. I'd say Oddjob and Jaws are the two archetypes that you really, really remember from the Bond series. Another scene that I absolutely love is the golf scene in Stoke Pogies in Scotland. the golf scene, shows how spy in political business and business of that nature is done on a golf course. A lot of business is done on a golf course, so that's true to nature. It's also where Sean Connery got his love of golf from, his love affair that lasted the rest of his life with the game of golf. It is not my favorite Sean Connery James Bond film, but it is the first one I ever watched. The first James Bond film I ever watched. I have fond memories of it. The romper room scene where they show the little depiction of Fort Knox and you see Bond's eyes out of it. That was amazing. Ken Adam did a wonderful job in production. It's just a top-notch movie with a succinctly followable plot. Not necessarily believable, like, ain't nobody gonna break into Fort Knox, because if anybody did, there'd be a huge response to it. Plus, there's actually a U.S. Army base, and nobody who doesn't work there has ever seen the inside of Fort Knox. As a matter of fact, they got a letter, the production company got a letter from the commander at Fort Knox, or the head person at Fort Knox, commemorating them on their wonderful imagination on the inside of Fort Knox. The only thing that they were allowed to do is they were allowed to take, at a specific time, aerial shots of Fort Knox. So the aerial shots you see of Fort Knox are the aerial shots they actually took of Fort Knox, and they had to jump through hoops to even get those, and that's in the 60s. Imagine now, ain't nobody getting close to it. Trust me on that one. But it's great. It's a great movie. It's amazing. And it's awesome. I love how Bond and M play a bigger role here. You see the quintessential Q scene in this film with the DB5, the forward-facing machine guns, the smoke screen, the oil slick, the bullet screen, the ejector seat. Ejector seat? You're joking. I never joke about my work 007. It's that iconic, quintessential Q scene. This is the first time you see Q's lab in the entire series. It will not be the last. Nowhere near will it be the last. And this lays the groundwork for one of my favorite scenes in all of Bondom, and that is the Q scene. I love the Q scene. I love Bond's interaction with Moneypenny in this one, and the fact that she's like, I'll come around, I'll cook you dinner, and he's like, I've already got a date, and she's like, famous last words, and M says, he's dining with me tonight. Moneypenny quit the repartee, and she looks at him and says, there's hope for me yet, and he says to her, Moneypenny, won't you ever believe me? And it's just an amazing, 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 amazing movie. It is overplayed a lot. That's why it's not my favorite. It's the most I've ever seen. It's the most. It's the Bond film I've seen the most, is what I'm trying to say. It is. It's the go-to Bond film when I show it to people that have never seen a Bond film. I show them oftentimes I'll show them Goldfinger to just show them how good it can get. And that's why, because Goldfinger is simply, truly amazing. The scenes in Kentucky are amazing. The scenes in Miami are amazing. The guy who plays Felix Leiter, whose name is escaping me right now, is fun and campy with it. This is the only film that he appears in to play Felix Leiter, but he does an admirable job in the film Goldfinger. He does an admirable job. A truly, truly admirable job. It's not a performance you'll remember per se, but it's a performance that fits the film and certainly does not detract from the film, and dare I say adds to the film actually. So, and the chase scene and the Tilly Masterson scene and you expect me to talk Goldfinger, that scene is, there's a lot of scenes in this film. The DB5 chase scene, the Bond laser on the table scene, they're iconic. They're truly iconic, and they are played in a montage of epic 007 scenes. A lot of them are from this movie because this is the blueprint, the template for Bond films to come, at least in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s, and even somewhat in the Pierce Brosnan era. And they even, like I said, play a little bit in the Daniel, they get soft, subtle nods in the Daniel Craig era. So this film is truly quintessential. It's truly must-see viewing in the Bond verse. And it's truly, truly, truly amazing. I hope you enjoyed this walk through Goldfinger. Leave in the comments down below what you thought if you've seen Goldfinger. Do not forget that these are spoilers abound. It'll be in the title, so you will be forewarned. But of course, in 2 weeks' time, you'll get to see my deep dive of Thunderball, one of my favorite Sean Connery films. And then in a month's time, we get to my favorite Sean Connery film, in You Only Live Twice. So that's the next 2 Bond days. That's 005 and 006 in Bond days. So there we go with that. Leave in the comments down below what you your deep dive thoughts of Goldfinger as well. And until next time, for your, as only 007, I'll see you again soon. And